Okay, this is Dr. James, and I'm on board the X1 bus, and I'm nearly at the BHX airport. I'm about to arrive there, and today's date is Tuesday, 18th of August, 2026. Okay, viewers, this is Dr. James International, and I've arrived at BHX airport. The local time is around 19:25 or 7:25 p.m. And what do I want to say? Well, in my previous videos on about my mobile phone camera, it feels like a Die Hard prop that appears on a Die Hard movie or something. You know, it's had that many damages done to it, so many knocks and collisions, and it's got a crack on the screen again. But it's not so bad at the moment. But I've had the screen replaced at least twice on this phone, and I've had screen covers put on this. So that is quite costly as well. It's probably making the phone worth more than a brand new phone. Obviously, you can buy a new one for that much. And what else do I want to say? I feel like a bit like, like one of those little homicide detectives, like Lieutenant Columbo. You know, the Lieutenant Columbo that used to come on a TV series, the US TV series, starring the late Peter Falk, homicide detective, murder mystery, that kind of thing. I feel like that, innit? At the BHX airport. Obviously, I'm an orphan guy, innit? Virtually everyone's around me doesn't exist, innit? I'm an international guy, so this is like the hub, isn't it? The destinations and departures and arrivals, the joining of the world from this point. Connectivity, possibly below the belt area as well, Freedom below the belt, remember that speech? Off with the tide. That famous Dutch speech. Take that snake off, eh? Liberate yourself. Below the belt. Anyway, enough of that. So, yeah, homicide detective. He's a genius fellow. He's an ingenious guy. He usually figures it out who's done it. Wearing that Mac, that trench coat, and driving that old Peugeot, and only a hound company. You never see him with a family house or kids, in fact, even. So busy, he's a workaholic, one of those types, workaholic types. Solving crime and pittance of pay, possibly. Underpaid, possibly. Well, he doesn't show it anyway. I don't know where he spends his money. Other than cigars and an old Peugeot. Remember that subliminal cut episode? I like that. That's one of my favourite episodes, the subliminal cut. And he uses it on that person to capture him at the end. Like in advertising, they use subliminal cuts to remind people to have drinks or something, make them feel thirsty. Clips of subliminal cuts. That's a very advanced kind of film. For its time, obviously, that's when they had that technology as well. Obviously, the technology has advanced much further. Obviously, digital now, isn't it? And AI and things. People's mood, how they think, influencing that. And then there's that. Remember that episode with Rosebud Command, starring I think it was the late Jack Cassidy. He gives that command over the phone. Rosebud and that dog, they're trained to maul someone to death under that command. When the guy picks up the phone and he gives the command, I think it was Jack Cassidy in that one. I'm not sure anyway. But he died himself in unusual circumstances. He lit a cigarette and fell asleep or something, and the cigarette caught fire to the couch and set fire to the house where he was sleeping. This was on the 12th of December 1976, and he died at the age of 49. His charred body was there. That's all that was there, and the rest of his body was cremated, and his ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean, just like many of these other Hollywood actors, including Cary Grant. His ashes were scattered in the Pacific Ocean, and so was the Jack Lord, the Hawaii Five-O guy. And he plays that CIA agent in, I think, the first James Bond movie, the Dr. No, Felix Leiter. He's played that part as well as Steve McGarrett in the Hawaii Five-O TV series. And that famous scene, when he gives a twirl on the balcony. Remember that? Well, he was cremated as well. And his ashes scattered in the Pacific Ocean. So Hollywood stars, they usually have their ashes scattered there. Obviously, because Hollywood's near the Pacific. Los Angeles area, California. The richest state of the United States of America, incidentally. The wealthiest. But other actors, such as the late Sean Connery, he had his ashes scattered around his native Scotland. I'll just get a map in of the Friendly Fairs map. That's their map of their flights. They even go all the way to Iceland, Reykjavik, and as far east as Cyprus, Bulgaria, Turkey. Anyway, so so his ashes were scattered in native Scotland. That's the late Sean Connery, who died at the age of 90. I think it's in 2020. That's when he died. 1990. Or was it 2021? And who else was, of course, H.G. Wells, the famous English author. His ashes were scattered in, I think it was the English Sea, maybe it was the North Sea, around his English ocean, around the English seas around him, of course. H.G. Wells. Marlon Brando, he had his ashes scattered in various places, according to his wishes. Not just one place, in quite a few places. And it was a private ceremony, obviously. His burial his cremation, was a private thing. And Cary Grant, obviously, he didn't have no funeral service at his request or something. The nonsense of a funeral service, He did become a late dad at the age of 62 to his daughter Jennifer via Diane Cannon, his fourth wife. His fourth wife was the only one that seeded him. His fifth wife was Barbara Harris, and he's had actually two Barbaras anyway. His first marriage was at Caxton Hall, and that's where he was divorced in England, London, Caxton Hall. That's his first marriage, and he had a total of 5 marriages. And like I said, only one of them succeeded him. But so his first wife married him at Caxton Hall, and he had a divorce there on the grounds of some sort of hitting incident. He allegedly hit her or something. That's what she accused him of, and that's why the divorce was allowed or something. And then he moved on to his second, third, fourth, and fifth. His second, I think it was his second wife, was they were deemed cash and carry. High risk. He was married to a high risk, and he was deemed cash and carry when they were seen together, the couple, because he was so wealthy. So he's quite a tan guy, you see, Cary Grant, and not just him. He's like Des O'Connor. Des O'Connor, he's quite tan, and so is Bob Moncas. Also, he made some movies in America as well. Maybe Roman influence, the Roman influence, if it's not anything else, or people like Bob Moncas, and maybe so. Yeah, so I mean, Haddock, the Captain Haddock character, he's actually from Spain. His ancestral Spanish origins. Blistering blue barnacles. So that's Birmingham Airport for you anyway. I think it's also a lesson to those movie stars and aspiring stars, because Charlie Chaplin is an example of that. His body was actually stolen, and the thieves tried to ransom the relatives, or from distant or otherwise. Eventually, the body was found and reburied or something. That's what could happen if you're buried, as well as your parts being taken out, your organs, the medical thieves. So if it's not those sort of thieves, the criminals, those sort of robbers, then maybe the medical robbers, those ones, experimentation, etc. So that's why cremation is popular as well, and also eradication of disease, mainly like the bubonic plague that ravaged through the 14th and 15th century in Europe, killing a vast amount of the population. I've mentioned that in my notes anyway, and you can check the post notes on the YouTube channel as well, on the post that I've put up there regarding that subject. Anyway, this video is getting long now, so I better get back to the bus stop and end this video and catch the bus home, the BHX bus from here, X1 bus to Palmetto, and I think it's here. It's actually arrived.